Good morning. This is Jill Crimmins with the Sensible Seniors Radio Hour. And my guest today is Catherine Marshall with Simple Fat Burn. And today we have a lot to talk about, and we're getting started a little bit early because Catherine is a very informative guest. And today we're talking about our January health month and all that goes on in this time of year where we think about losing weight, beginning to be healthy. And about this time in January, some of us slip back into our old habits and our old patterns. But today, Catherine is going to help us understand how to break those repetitive behaviors and how to get started and stay fit and not give up on the third or fourth week of your endeavor. So get your friends and family and business partners and associates, networking buddies, anybody that you think would enjoy listening, and get them to go to their Google browser and type in Vision Radio 105.com. Vision Radio 105.com. Then they can hit the listen live button and they can listen to us while they're driving, while they're working at their desk, having their morning coffee, getting ready for their day. They can enjoy the show and learn a lot about health and fitness today with our guest, Catherine Marshall, and me, Jill Crimmins, your host. This is Vision Radio 105.1 FM, where we are uplifting, encouraging, and empowering. A community radio. Well, let's get on to our important guest this morning, Miss Catherine Marshall. And Catherine, today, she is our guest, and she is also an author of Simple Fat Burn, 3 Steps to Becoming Fit and Lean. She's been a personal trainer for over 20 years and teaches people how to burn fat fast and make it last. Try to say that fast 3 times. Wow. This show is for all ages. Even though we talk about and call it the Sensible Seniors Radio Hour, it's really about anyone of any age, whether you're younger and having to start taking care of your mom and dad, your loved one, your aunts, your cousins. Maybe you have a friend or a family member that needs to know about my services with even Irma's senior care homes, or you might just enjoy listening every day to Vision Radio with our beautiful music and our other guests. But I'm so happy that you've joined us today on my program every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m., the Sensible Seniors Radio Hour. So let's get right into it. Catherine, in your opening remarks that I just shared, you said that you have been a personal trainer for over 20 years. That absolutely blows my mind as I sit here and look at your beautiful face and your petite body and how you just have such a glow about you. I would have thought you were in your young 30s, and I have found out that is not the case. So tell some of our listeners and myself, you look so good for your age. How did you do it? How do you do it?
Well, that's what we're going to share today, Jill. And it really is math, science, biology, and chemistry when it comes to what you eat. And the next thing is what you do. What do you do on a weekly and daily basis? Over the years, I've really studied it and I've lived it. So today we're going to talk about reversing aging, which you really can do. There's a formula to it. I speak about it. I write about it. And we really are going to share the message. I love that you're all about uplifting, encouraging, and really teaching people there's a better way to live. And there really is. And it's simple stuff. That's why I always kind of go back to the basics. There's so much information out there. And a lot of it is dead wrong, incorrect. So we're going to share some of the basic, simple truths about how to reverse the clock, how to gain energy, how to feel good. So, I've done it by eating clean, exercising, and really here's the biggest part of all. It's what you think. It's what is rolling through your mindset on an hourly basis. So those are the main components. That's kind of the foundation of how we turn back the clock.
Wow. So it sounds like a step-by-step daily progress, but I know sometimes I think oh, that's just a little overwhelming to think I'm going to lose 50 pounds in a year. But it sounds like you're taking it and doing it almost with an hour by hour thinking process in your head.
Sure.
You're talking to yourself and holding yourself accountable, or just reminding yourself not to eat that cookie when you've already had one yesterday.
Sure.
So it adds up over the years.
It does add up, and it all boils down to ratios. There's nothing you can't have. And I think I mentioned to you before we came on, I never turn down a cupcake. So, people say, well, how do you do it? And I eat clean 90% of the time.
Right.
So, but here's the thing. Most people don't understand what that means. Otherwise, we'd all be healthy, fit, and lean.
Well, this is true.
If it came in a bottle, everyone would have one.
Yes, yes. And I know, as I shared back in the beginning of January with some of our guests, or maybe the end of December show, that when I started Eva Nirma's senior care homes, I weighed around 160 and I was lean. I'm 5'9", so I was healthier and did things differently. And then I got into my personal care home business, and we have wonderful ladies that cook for our seniors and wonderful food. And every time I crossed the threshold of one of my houses, whether I was on duty or visiting, I would eat a little of this, a little of that. Well, you visit 4 homes in one day, and all of a sudden, especially in the South, we show love with food.
We do.
All of a sudden, I crept it up, and now I'm looking to get it off. So tell us, you were talked about 2017, and I did too, that this is a good year. So for our guests that may have started January 3rd
Sure.
with a strict diet of what they thought they knew they needed to do, here we are coming into the bend of the 3rd week of January, headed to the 4th, and they're starting to fall off the wagon a little bit.
Oh, by this point, so many people are extremely frustrated. They say, I'm giving up so many things, and the weight is not budging. So they come to me and they're like, oh, wow, I've given up this, I've given up that, and I'm not getting the progress I was looking for. And guess what? The schedule is still big. People are still bringing in the carb-loaded food.
Yep.
And life hasn't changed that much. And we have these great intentions. But here's the thing that's missing. It's education.
Yes. That's the same thing I find in my senior world.
I bet.
It's, when mama falls and has a crisis, or daddy takes ill, the children are just in a whirlwind. And so education is part of my ministry. And I've taken that to a whole new level this year by reaching out to my community bankers, reaching out to my fraud coalition friends in the mortgage business, and going into employers and offering their employees a game plan, a map, just like you do with food.
I love that you say that, because when I sit down with a client, that's what I call it. It's a map. And don't you find it's a simple piece of information?
Yes.
Or a simple resource, or a strategy that really there's not that much to it, but your person sits there and goes, aha, and they sort of know bits and pieces. And when we pull the strings together, that map works. And guess what? We get immediate results. And it's like the clouds part and the sun comes out, right?
Yes.
So that's really why we're on the show today, because we can share some information that can transform lives immediately.
That's true. So while we're on that subject, so why is 2017, your theme is making 2017 your healthiest year yet? That is such a hot topic for all ages. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. Because I think there are so many people that last year they set out on the same bandwagon to get healthy, get fit. A year rolls by, and guess what? They're still in the same place, or they've gained more weight, or they're on more medications. So this is the year really to get educated and to slow down a little bit and just take little baby steps. Now, you mentioned thinking about losing 50 pounds in a year is overwhelming, and it sure is. But if I said, Jill, I know you could lose 1 pound a week. With some really simple changes, and there's nothing that you're going to miss out on. That would feel so calming, I'm thinking, because, with little changes and 1 pound a week, or even 2 pounds.
Right.
And if I said it's really going to be easy once we balance out your food, we plug in some exercise that fits in your overly busy schedule, which that's most people, right?
Right.
You could exercise in your home, or you could figure out where does it fit best, and it becomes a priority. So once you realize that you're doing something that's actually going to get you results, then you've got momentum. Then you've got motivation. So do you know where motivation comes from?
No.
It's a good question, isn't it?
It
Because
is.
everyone's looking for motivation, especially right now when the days are still long, right?
Yeah.
It's cold out.
Yeah.
You're tired. The
Yep.
schedule's big. How do you get motivated? So motivation comes from a couple of places that we don't normally think about. It comes from getting a quick result. So if we work
Oh.
out that map and then a week later you're like, oh my gosh, I'm down 3 pounds. Now you're motivated. Now you realize something's working. So it also comes from, this is a biggie, it comes from higher purpose.
Ah.
So you have to start to link your outcome. If your goal is to lose 10 pounds, you have to mentally and emotionally link that with your higher purpose. Maybe you have grandchildren that you want to play with and be here for, and you say, gosh, exercise is going to be important.
Oh my goodness.
So these are the types of things I want our listeners to take notes on today. Write down, what is my higher purpose? And we all have one. So if you have a higher purpose to share your message, share your work, maybe engage with your family. Maybe you want to take that great family vacation. And I have a lot of people come to me and say, gosh, we're getting ready to take the big cruise or the big vacation out of the country. And I'm just not conditioned for it. It's tough to travel. If you've ever traveled out of the country, that's a long flight, and it's challenging for people who are healthy and in shape.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it like
Sure.
that.
I know if you've got to travel, 15 or 20 hours somewhere, you've really got to be conditioned that you don't just suffer on that flight. And then, you're going to be on your feet. You're going to be traveling and hiking around quite a bit more than you do in your everyday average routine. So if your higher purpose is to really have some quality time with your family or carry out your ministry, whatever that is for you, that might be something to get down on paper and say, wow, here's my motivation. Let me get that on my bathroom mirror. Why am I going to get up and hit that workout? Why am I going to make the better food choices? Why am I going to take those measurements or work with a professional? Link it to your higher purpose, and all of a sudden that motivation really floods in. And the third thing, we've got this higher purpose, immediate results. And the third thing is autonomy. You have to opt in. The doctor can tell you all day long to lose weight, but until a person is ready and they make that personal choice and decision to opt in, nothing is going to happen. So you might put it out there for a long time. I'm thinking about it, I'm talking about it, but you'll know when you're ready to put some time and effort and energy into truly making some changes.
Wow. That does tie it to, you said in your opening comments, the chemistry, the science,
Sure.
the biology. It goes into your brain.
It does.
And that's just, and you're right. People, I've had that happen with some bank customers back when I was in banking for 25 years. I've had it happen in the last 3 and 4 years of having even Irma's, where no matter how the education I could share, no matter how I know how I could fix the problem and make the care easier on the family members, until they're ready to accept
Sure.
that these changes will help their lives and they buy into it,
Mm-hmm.
I can preach till the cows come home.
Right.
And so I have learned when a family is ready to listen and when they're not. And then I step away.
And you can tell. You can
Yeah,
tell when
I
somebody's
can
really
tell.
ready to make a change.
Yes.
They're gonna come to you with a whole new attitude, and it might
Yes.
take a while. And for those that aren't ready yet, I would say be kind, be gentle,
Yes.
and just put it out there that they're going to be ready to make the change.
Right.
And some people aren't going to do it, but if they're talking about it, they have an interest. If they're frustrated, they care. So those are some important
Yes.
points to remember with your friends and your family and coworkers.
That's true. I never thought of that either. You are just educating me on some wonderful topics this morning. So our listeners, as we're going into about 9:15 on our hour this morning, you're listening to the Sensible Seniors Radio Hour with Jill Crimmins at visionradio105.com and Vision Radio 105.1 FM. Empowering, uplifting, encouraging. We are your community radio in Loganville, Georgia. So, Catherine, tell us and our listeners, what's your personal story? How did you get into the fitness industry and how did you make all this kind of come to be?
Sure. Before I was in the fitness industry, I was a social worker. So my background is I have a master's in social worker. I was a counselor and case manager for a hospital in upstate New York. And I found that many of our cases, women would gain weight with pregnancy and they gained some more weight with the second pregnancy, and they were really suffering from depression. We could treat depression very successfully, but the body image was a piece that unless they figured out a way to lose weight and get healthy, they were still struggling. So that always bothered me. And when I came to Georgia, I was ready for a career change. So I decided to get into personal training. And I realized that there was really a calling for me to use those counseling and case management skills as a fitness professional.
Oh, wow. Kind of like me with the background of banking. Once I got into my sensible, not the Sensible Seniors Radio, sorry, the Eva Irma's senior care homes, personal care homes, I realized very quickly that every family was like a mortgage loan. You
Right.
took their situation, you took their loved one, you checked on their finances, and then depending on what they had to work with and what they desired for their mother or father, led them to the right choice. Just like a credit loan where someone had A credit would get the best rate, somebody with B credit wouldn't. That is very similar skill set that was needed in this industry to talk about finances, just like yours was case management.
Sure.
Wow.
It's still
Okay.
case management.
Yes, it is. It is. So, what motivates you to work with your clients?
Oh gosh, I love seeing people transform and transform quickly. I love helping people get immediate results and really ending the struggle, ending the battle with food, giving them some tools so that they can really move ahead, feel better, look better, come off their medications if possible. And really, I love seeing people increase their quality of life. I have a passion for it. I never get tired of answering the questions and working through the process with them.
Right. And it shows. I mean, your smile this morning on the radio show, the first couple of times I met you at some networking events, and you're even on your own Facebook page, which we'll get to and talk about in a little bit. You just show such energy and enthusiasm, and that definitely comes across to your clients. It gives them encouragement and energy. We feed off each other.
We sure do.
if you're having a good uplifting attitude and you're working with your clients in your facility and your gym to get them, they have to be encouraged every morning
Right.
or every afternoon when they come to you. That's for sure. So in my opening remarks, I mentioned a couple of books which you have authored. Tell us a little bit about what motivates you to write books and a little bit about these books yourself.
Sure. Well, the first book I wrote is called Simple Fat Burn, 3 Steps to Becoming Fit and Lean. And it really is 3 steps. It's what you eat, it's what you do, and again, the biggie is what you think. You know, what's in your consciousness trumps all. So about 10 years ago, I was working as a personal trainer at Dunwoody Baptist Church. I was there for 11 and a half years.
Oh,
Great
wow.
time there. And there was a guy in the gym who was not my client, but he did this crazy workout and he worked really hard and he had this big pregnant looking belly. And the other members would come to me and say, gosh, Kath, can you help him? So we started talking, and Tom was an engineer. He was very smart. So we had 2 conversations, and Tom dropped 40 pounds. Now, he was
Whoa.
not my personal training client. So we had 2 conversations. He started logging all of his food, and he continued to be successful. And I said, gosh, I've just got to write this book because fitness is not what people think. You know, there's so much to it, but when we narrow it down, it's balancing blood sugar to burn fat. And that's what I taught Tom. So I really wrote Simple Fat Burn to give people the basics. And it's a very short book. It's written at a level where a teenager can understand it, but it cuts to the chase with the things that matter the most. You know, I really believe in not doing things that don't matter and getting things done that actually make a difference. So Simple Fat Burn, it's available on Amazon, and it's really helped transform hundreds of lives.
Oh, wow. So let's talk about that. When someone goes on Amazon and then they would go to the search bar.
Sure. They
And
could
then-
just search Simple Fat Burn and it'll pop right up. They could search Catherine Marshall and it'll pop right up. But yeah, it's available on Amazon and Kindle.
Wonderful. So you've told us what motivates you to write books and what motivates you to work with your clients. Tell us a little bit about who is your perfect client.
Gosh, you know, my perfect client is that person who is ready to change, the person who's ready to be healthier, and the person who is ready to lose weight and stop the yo-yo dieting.
Ah, Well, I've heard that my whole life. My mom, I think Weight Watchers was introduced to the Atlanta market, or it had just started from the very beginning in the middle 60s. I was
Sure.
like 4 or 5. And just like you shared, mother had me, then she had my brother 22, 23 months later, and she had gained some weight. And she grew up in a home where they ate healthy in the 30s and 40s and 50s. You didn't have the processed foods.
Right. It was natural food, and meals were smaller, and times were different.
Yes.
Families sat down and had dinner together. We really don't tend to do that anymore.
Right. And that is true. So we grew up with a mother who was very health conscious for her time of the young middle 60s, 1960s. And so she followed that protocol our lives. So growing up, we had healthy meals. We as kids, I'm the oldest of 4, we had to go out in the garden. Daddy grew our
So
own
everything
food.
was naturally organic.
It was.
Now we're hunting to find something organic.
Yes, I know.
It's a major
it reminds
job.
me. Yeah, and I refuse to pay for it because I know how to grow it. So I just don't. But so given that our society is different, we do have extra busy schedules. I do not even know how some of these young mothers work full time, have a spouse who works full time. They have kids in baseball, soccer.
They're running. They're
Yeah,
driving and running and sitting in traffic.
Yes.
Here in
and it's
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, it's not even on Saturdays anymore. It's every night. So there's no time for meal preparation. There's no time. They're grabbing a fast food taco or a fast food
Right.
burger. And, that's just what our society has become.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's carrying on. Now, me at 54, if I had children, I could have a 24-year-old, 25-year-old who already has children of their own. And so we've got 3 generations that are running and doing fast food.
We sure do. And it's amazing to me how much fast food we do. Most of what people eat is not organic, and it's fast food or highly processed. And, that's where the epidemic of health problems are coming from. It's the food
Yes.
supply. So, you can't always get something organic, but you can make a better choice.
Right.
And, I always say start where you are with what you have.
Mhm.
So once you understand the basics that I write about and coach about, then, it's like taking little baby steps, and it gets a little easier, and then you make a little better choice. So it starts with education, and we've got to break it down into little bites that you can be successful at.
Yes, that is true. Now, you shared that you have 2 books. What's the other book, and where can we find that one?
The other book is probably the most important book I'm going to ever write. It is The Simple Fat Burning Recipes and Food Log. Now, this is the book where people actually get into the quickest, easiest recipes, and the food choices are already done that burn fat. I open book after book, look at internet page after internet page that says fat burning recipes, and they're just not. So these recipes are configured so that there's enough protein, enough low glycemic carbohydrates, enough fiber, so that when you eat these recipes, they truly burn fat.
Wow.
And this is the tracking book. So this is where people write down what they eat and really pull the strings together to balance their exercise and focus and start to actually make change.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Every year, Yahoo and these other companies come out and say, who are the people who lost fat and kept it off? They are the people that do the tracking. You have to get inside the process. You have to write things down or track it in an app.
Right.
But once you take that application of education and make the leap to making changes on a regular basis, that's where we get lasting results. And then it becomes a new way of life.
Yes.
You don't always have to track, but you got to know what you're doing.
That's true. That's true. And like you said, I grew up hearing, and even in my working career, don't believe everything you read, don't believe everything you hear.
True.
And so I am personally amazed that still goes on even in the health industry. Like you said, you were Googling or tell me about
it's
that.
overwhelming. There's so much confusion. So again, I want to keep it really simple,
Right.
simple enough that a child can understand it. And it's simple enough that if someone learns it, they can teach it to other people.
Yes.
They can teach it to a loved one or a friend or a family member, and they lose 20 or 40 pounds. So that's the amazing thing. The Simple Fat Burning Recipe and Food Log book is available on my website.
Oh.
So it's available at simplefatburn.com. So it can be ordered there. I do the fulfillment myself. We will get that up on Amazon eventually. But right now, the fat burning recipes and food log is found at simplefatburn.com and can be ordered and purchased online.
Well, and that leads me to a good opportunity here for our listeners to share with them how to reach out to you
Sure.
after our show. Feel free to reach out to Catherine Marshall. She's our guest today, for those of you who might just now be turning in. And her business and books, simplefatburn.com. That's simplefatburn.com. Simplefatburn.com. And if you want to reach Catherine by phone, she can be reached at 404-819-8445. The number again, 404-819-8445. And if you get her voicemail, she will call you back. I know personally.
I'll
She
call
called
you
me
right back.
Right back. Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about that. I think if someone contacts you, you need to respond as quickly as possible. And maybe I'm a little bit old school on that, but I think if they've made the effort to reach out, whether it's a phone call, an email, or a text message, and I know you and I think a lot about about this because we do professional networking.
Yes.
You got to reach right back.
Yes. Yes.
It's a simple skill, but I hope everyone can step up their game if they need to with that skill.
Right. And I do a lot of texting, but on that initial phone call, when a family's in crisis,
Sure.
I'm working with a family right now. They're moving their mom into my Loganville Walnut Grove house this afternoon. Mom fell. She was living at home. She fell. She got shipped off to hospital, got her hip repaired, got shipped off to rehab. They did an excellent job. He got a call, and this happens time and time again. So listen carefully. I'll have education on that later. But he got a call at 4:30 on Friday that said, we are not renewing your mother's agreement to rehab any further. And then he said, well, is there any way to make an appeal? So they said, okay, we'll make an appeal, but she's walking 300 steps. That is met the threshold. And once you meet that threshold, whether you saw it coming or not, and the family, even in my opinion, she's very frail. She's teeny tiny and she's very weak, but because she can walk, it's over. And so on Sunday afternoon at 12:45, he got a phone call that said the appeal had been denied.
Oh, wow.
She has to be out by 10 a.m. Monday. So and now she can't go home and live alone anymore. Okay, so you've got a matter of, you've been just told on Sunday at 12:45 that you've got to check out your mom out of the hotel and she has to go somewhere else. Well, where's the somewhere else? So thankfully, he had a referral from Mary Ellen at Senior Provisions. She had been on my show back in November and December, and he had actually met her and was able to know who to call and call Jill. So we're moving her in today.
Great.
So when families are in crisis, what if I hadn't answered that phone till Monday morning? He needed me then.
Yeah,
it's
and,
just not.
Honestly, Jill, I think that immediate response says you care.
I do.
And it's not, hey, I'm off on Sunday. It's, hey,
That's right.
I care more than I'm worried about some downtime on Sunday.
Yes.
That this is a situation that requires an immediate response.
It does.
So
it does, and
I
it
like
did.
It. Maybe
So
that's a
you
new
have
thing,
that
another
too.
new thing for everyone for 2017 to
Yes.
really respond immediately with the things that come to the surface that need
Right.
an immediate response.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To take care of that.
Sure.
So what where and how do you service your clients? You've explained to us about your books and your clients. So who is your perfect client, and then where and how do you service these clients?
Well, the clients that come to me that are wanting to get healthier and burn fat, I do personal training out of TNT Fitness Studio in Duluth. I've been there for 12 happy years.
Wonderful.
Out of the 20 years I've been in training. So I have clients that come to me there that will meet me in person for either nutrition counseling and or shared personal training sessions. And, they come once a week or once a month or 3 times a week. We build a program that really meets their budget and their schedule. And then I do some remote fitness counseling and coaching. And I do that by phone, webinar, text messaging. So I have clients as far as Florida and Utah across the country.
Oh,
So I'm
my
actually
goodness.
able to service clients in a variety of different ways. I really love to sit and talk with that client and see what is going to be the best program for you and how do you communicate? And then we really figure out a program that fits their needs.
Wow. So, listeners, you are listening to Jill Crimmins in the Sensible Seniors Radio Hour on Vision Radio 105.1 FM, Loganville, Georgia, your community radio. Uplifting, empowering, and encouraging. And I would also like to have our listeners, remember I started out the show with y'all take out your notebooks, your pen and paper, and write down these good notes from our guest, Catherine Marshall, with Simple Fat Burn. But I want to encourage you right now to do something. A lot of you guys are worldwide. We are so proud here at Vision Radio that our broadcast signal across the internet goes across the world and goes across the United States. So if you're listening right now, or you have a friend that you know as you're listening could use Catherine's help, just because we were sitting 29 miles east of downtown Atlanta, Georgia, good old USA, Catherine can help you. Did y'all just hear that? She has the ability over the internet, over the Skype, over the
Absolutely.
World Wide Web to be able to coach and counsel people, not just right here in the Dunwoody and the Swanee communities anymore of Atlanta, but all over the world. So if you need nutrition counseling, if you have a limited budget and you have things that you've been wanting to accomplish with your health or fitness for your family and you, pick up the phone after our show and call her or email her off her website at simplefatburn.com.